Great rewards don't wait, so why should you? Through the Invigor Book and Buy Grower program, you could earn a $30 per bag rebate when you book all of your Invigor hybrid canola by November 14th. Talk to your retailer. Terms and conditions apply.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio.
Hello and welcome to this Tuesday edition of RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. Yes, it is October 21st. I am your host, Lindsay Smith. Don't you worry, your regular host, Sean Haney, will be back in no time, but I'm covering for now, and it is wonderful to be with you today. Thanks so much for listening here on the radio and downloading that podcast. We really appreciate that as well. If you are listening on your favorite podcast app, just drop us a follow, a like, a comment. That all helps in spreading the word about RealAg Radio. All right, we've got a great show lined up today, but before we get to that, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't start the show with a shout out to the Blue Jays, the Toronto Blue Jays, and all their fans for making it to the World Series. I am one of those that remembers fondly the 1993 run. I was just a little Lindsay at that time, but I can remember watching the entire series. So pretty exciting times here in Canada for our baseball team and for baseball fans and for those new baseball fans. What do we call those? Bandwagon jumpers. Anyway, it's a great time to be watching baseball. That's for sure. So super cool and great to see. I know plenty of people who have been at the games. Lovely to follow along on the social media side. Always cool to see, people from different parts of Canada who make the trip to go and watch the games. So, really cool to see all that firsthand. And, let's go Blue Jays. So there you go. That was for Calvin. Tip of the hat there, Calvin. All right. On today's show, we got a really cool lineup here. So we do have a product spotlight with Eric Olson from MNP. So you'll hear from him about, realistically the role and the value of a farm advisor and somebody who can help walk you through maybe some tougher years for planning. So we've got that in our third segment. We've also got Darcy Pollock. He is the new chair of Ag in the Classroom Canada. Going to ask Darcy all about the organization and sort of the vision for the organization, what Ag in the Classroom Canada does, and where he sees it sort of going, longer term. And for any of you who have volunteered with your provincial organizations, super cool. It's a great organization. But they did name a new board. And so curious to know sort of what the new vision is in that it's a board made up of industry people from across Canada, not necessarily from the provincial organizations, which I think is an interesting way to put together a board and really cool to hear about what's ahead for Ag in the Classroom Canada. And then we round out the show with Bern Tobin. He's in conversation with Cam Blackford of Mosaic Company. Bern actually headed all the way out to New Brunswick to talk to Cam about potato production. So not something we necessarily have a lot of here on the show, but every once in a while, of course, we are going to touch on potato production. We do have some pretty significant potato acres in several different provinces, but not one we talk a lot about. So they're actually not just talking about potatoes, but talking about biological products and nutrient management in potato production. So super cool there. But to start it all off, and that's where we're going to go first, I've got part of the Ruminating with Real Ag episode that Amber Bell did with Etienne Poulain. He's with Poulain Pastoral Company. I highly recommend after you listen to this radio show, you head on over to RealAgriculture.com, find the Ruminating with Real Ag podcast, or, of course, wherever you get your audio. You can find it on Spotify as well, YouTube, and download and listen to the entire episode because I can't play it all. It's about 45 minutes for the whole conversation. I'm just going to take a snippet out of it. But Etienne has just some fabulous perspective. He's got a fascinating sort of career arc to where he's at now. And so I've just chosen sort of a piece of this podcast for the radio show, but I highly recommend go check it out, listen to the whole thing. Super cool. And of course, Amber hosts Ruminating with RealAg. It's a cattle-based podcast, but that doesn't mean we only ever talk about cattle. And she talked about everything from, fencing to grazing management, all the way through to background in cattle and feedlot management. And so she talks to people across Canada, across the U.S., and it's a fantastic podcast. Go find it, give it a follow. All right, let's take a quick break, and I will be back with more RealAg Radio right after this.
Kochia sucks.
Big time. And hate it. Really gets in the way. Awful.
But not anymore. Get a head start on tough-to-kill weeds like Kochia this fall with Volterra EZ and Fierce EZ Soil Active Herbicide. Apply after harvest before freeze-up for up to 8 weeks of extended control in pulses, soybeans, and wheat next spring. Volterra EZ, Fierce EZ for Kochia. Visit newfarm.ca/Kochia.
I get to spend every day talking to farmers in the ag industry through RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio. But nothing is more fun than speaking to an audience live and in person. If you're planning an ag event, book a Real Agriculture speaker to make it a successful and memorable experience. Email shaney@realagriculture.com and you can book myself or any other Real Ag personality to speak at your event. Bring your audience all the fun, insight, and energy of Real Agriculture.
Soil health is under pressure, but real solutions start below the surface. Black Earth offers a full suite of humic solutions, from high-purity granules to powder, liquid, and soluble formulations, all powered by pure Humulite. Formulated for performance, backed by consistency, trusted by growers worldwide from one of the world's rarest reserves. Grow stronger with the power of Black Earth Humulite. Learn more from Mine to Market at blackearth.com.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am Lindsay Smith. I am your host on this Tuesday, October 21st. The Canadian Agri-Food Policy Institute is driving bold policy solutions for a resilient Canadian agri-food system and building a stronger future for Canadian agriculture. Visit CAPI online at capi-icpa.com to discover how. And a reminder, of course, that we've got a webinar coming up on Thursday. That's October 23rd, talking about ag innovation and potentially being left behind. Go to the CAPI website, register for that webinar. If you register, it also means you can watch the replay. So very important. Go and do that. Okay. As promised, I've got a segment of the Ruminating with Real Ag podcast episode with Etienne Poulain of Poulain Pastoral Company. What I found really fascinating about this episode is, yes, cool background, which I'm not going to include here, so go check it out in the full version. But really his focus on communication and sort of leaving behind some of these old school thinking that, like, when you're working animals, you're going to just scream at each other. And anyone who has worked livestock with their partner probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so without further ado, here you go. This is a segment of Ruminating with Real Ag podcast, hosted by our own Amber Bell and with Etienne Poulain.
And how far do you think that needs to break down? So thinking someone new comes onto a farm or ranch, how much time would you say needs to be spent just like, for one, figuring out where the other person is coming from and what their experiences are? And like, how much time would you dedicate to that, would you say is worthwhile?
Oh, Lord. That's going to depend entirely upon the candidate. I mean, if somebody's coming in from a ranching background already, you're not starting at point A. They should know how to put in a fence stable, right? If they come in and they're completely new to the ranching industry, but they've worked with manual jobs before. That was my case. So I come from a construction renovation background. When I got into ranching, I had to learn everything ranching. Mm-hmm. But swinging a hammer, picking up something heavy, using your body to work working fairly long hours and keep on going when you're tired, because we work till the job's done, not until the clock hits a certain time type of gig. That's all something. I mean, if you're new to all that, you're starting your learning curve from the bottom. Mm-hmm. So it really depends where the candidate is. And as far as how much you put into it, I would say as long as the person is progressing forward and they actually want to keep on learning, keep putting it into it. Because that's, in my opinion, one of the bigger issues nowadays is just finding a candidate that will actually show up and is willing to learn and get better. I mean, if you got one of those, hold on to him and train him. Because you let him go, you might find the next person on a resume looks great, but if they don't have the hustle. So I would train someone with hustle any day over taking someone with experience.
I really like that.
At the same time, the flip side of that is you get to train them exactly how you want them to be trained. So it takes longer. At first, it's going to cost you money before they start to break even, and then later on start making you money and can really count on them and rely on them. But if it's worthwhile in the end for the right people. If you don't have the right people, as soon as you know that they're not the right people, I'd say let them go. Because from then on, they're not beneficial. So you give them a break, really train them on. But if you see the attitude's not there, or they're just not going to make it, you got in your mind, like, I'm done with this person. From then on, every day you keep him on is not a service to you or to them. Like if it's not
and you're putting time into those people. So
yeah, and they're giving you their time, which, I mean, it might not be worth much because they're not putting much into it, but free them up. Let them learn from it. So
yeah. I like that. And so let's talk about communication during busy seasons like calving or shipping time, and especially the heat of the moment, because I think there's a lot of jokes among ranchers that like, hey, what I say when I'm moving cattle, that doesn't matter. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, the stereotype is there for a reason. It tends to be what I figure is just high stress environment. People naturally work themselves up. I mean, when you get out on the morning and you just have to move him or go check him, there's no stress. It's the routine. You're doing your routine. The animals are doing their routine. Nothing should be going wrong. Once in a while it happens because it's livestock. But as an overall, you don't get into it with the stress. When it comes to those big days, you've already got a crunch time. The truck's arriving at X time. I hope your corrals are already ready, or else you're adding that stress into it. Got to bring in the animals. Well, what if they go south? Whatever. Already, all this stress is heightened up. So when your baseline is already jacked up to 50, it doesn't take much to push you over. It's kind of like when you're driving. When you're driving at 100 and somebody cuts you off, right away people react and they start road rage. I'm not saying they ran the car, but in their own car, they're probably mumbling something at the minimum, right? But why are you reacting so much like that? It's because you're already heightened up at a level 80, because you got to pay attention to things zooming by at 100 kilometers an hour. If you're sitting in your living room and somebody walks off in front of you as you're getting up, you're not going to start cussing them out or whatever. At first, I'm like, yo, watch out.
Hopefully you're not.
Yeah, it's the stress level. And I think it's something similar that's happening when we're in high stress environments and whatever. That being said, that's not an excuse to go and, mouth off to everybody and treat everybody like they're not humans, or like everything is forgiven because we're working cattle. It's like, no. You're still in a work environment. You still got to keep your cool. Yeah, it's very important to, especially as the person in charge barking the orders, you set the tone and the mood for everything on that day. So if you can keep your cool, you're going to have the hardest job of them all to keep it. But if you can keep your cool, the odds of things going smoothly and having a good day are going to go a lot better. And the animals sense it too. If you get riled up and you start yelling at the team gets riled up, the animals sense it too. Everybody's got less patience. Everybody's more jerky in their step because now it's like, come on, go, because you got to let out the anger somewhere. So the boss gets it down to the employee goes down to the livestock, and now everybody's angry and pissed off. Right. It just doesn't help. So in those situations, and if something happens, like one of the greatest things I've ever learned from someone that I used to work with is when something goes bad. So whether it's, the person, we're working livestock and they do something in the moment that's not right, and you think they should know better, or you literally show up and somebody makes a mistake. That applies in every industry. If somebody under you makes a mistake, the instinct usually is, and I know I'm guilty of that 100%, to get in there, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you automatically assume that they did the wrong thing for the wrong reason. And one of the things that I learned best from one of my old bosses is just get in there with the attitude of just, okay, what happened? Just explain to me, like obviously it went wrong, but explain to me at least your mindset of how you got there. What were you thinking? And that, first of all, calms everything down because you're not walking in there like, what the hell, man? Yelling at everybody. And you offer them a chance to explain how it happened. What that is, obviously something went wrong. So whatever you did, you're in a bad spot. But what it does is offer you the chance to understand how the employee got there. So instead of assuming, oh, they didn't care about my machinery or my post about the job, they're just here for a paycheck. If they can explain the logic and say, oh, that's not going to work, but I can understand how you got there. And that just takes the fire out of your anger, at least a little bit.
Right.
It should, depending on how bad they screwed up. Because you're like, okay, well, at least there was a logic to it. It wasn't a lack of, I don't care about this guy's thing. And if it turns out that it is and I don't care, he just admitted to it.
Yeah.
What more are you waiting for? Get rid of him.
Yeah.
It literally came down to, I have zero explanation. I don't know. I was not paying attention. I don't care. I decided, I'll try it. Okay, well, then you got your answer. Think seriously on it. Do you keep him? But if you just offer the people the chance to explain why, and same thing in the corrals. If something opens the wrong gate and lets in the wrong animals or whatever, there's no need to start yelling at him. Just ask, okay, what's your thoughts? Why are you doing this? Oh, turns out they're trying to reload the next fan. Okay, well, we actually need to hold off on that because of that, but there's no need to bite their heads off. Just explain the game plan.
Right.
Flip side of that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think one of the things that you said there that really hit me that I haven't heard necessarily before, and I like the way you explained it, is that, you know, what level of stress are you going into those stressful situations in already? So how much would you say pre-planning, so having corral setups, having that goes into keeping some of those emotions down during those stressful situations?
Oh, it's huge. I'd say it's probably, I'll call it 50% for the morning before any cows start to move. That stress, that anticipation stress, I'd say it's 50%. For me, the other 50% that I've seen is stockmanship skills. So that 50% has rarely ever been an issue for me. I'm not trying to brag or I'm just honest God truth. I've never been as nervous because I understand flight zones well. And I'm fairly confident in my stockmanship skills to keep an animal calm. It doesn't always go, like I've had cows run past me, but even when they do, like it might take me 6 times, but I know how to go round them up, how to bring him back slowly, not panic him. And we're not going to be chasing him in donuts with a quad for 6 hours until one of us, either she gets exhausted or I run out of fuel type of deal.
Right.
So just having that confidence, I know how to work cattle, how to do my job, takes a lot of it out of it. If you're a hobbyist and you're just not that confident, you're relying more on noise to move your cows because they get scared of you more than just proper pressure. That's going to jack up a lot more of that stress because one, you're not unsure how to go about it or whatever it might be. But the moment you're using high stress for your cows, then they're not calm. And that's when they start being really stupid. If you can keep your girls walking and really get them to think that it's their idea to move towards the corral, not yours, Lord, it takes
so much easier.
Your problems out of it right there. And if you are taking care of a proper corral to accommodate them, once you do push the herd, there goes your stress level for most of the day, and you haven't
so
touched
much easier. I really like that. For someone
sorry, I was just going to say I need to say this part though. On the flip side of talking loudly during things is people need to understand at some point you also need to kind of build up the self-confidence to take it. There is a line in there, like it's not an HR heavy environment to begin with, but it's a high stress moment where sometimes you just don't have the time. You can't take people aside and talk to them calmly. Would you please open the gate? It needs to get closed now. There is noise allowed. I have 10 things on my mind. There's a cow coming down the chute. I mean, so it's a give and take on both sides. As the person in charge, you need to be aware and not become abusive. But the people on the other side also need to understand that I need to raise my voice to be heard over everybody. And I'm naturally already highly stressed. I'm not on my living room. So if I yell at you, shut that gate now, I'm not really biting your head off. If I yell at you, shut that gate now, you useless. No, that is not agree. That's not okay. Right. But it's come in expecting a small amount of abuse because it'll happen. It's part of the environment. It's part of the characters that gets attracted. Ranching is usually not a HR mindset heavy industry, for better or worse. So yeah, it's both sides of it need to take it, but I don't want to really put it on the boss because sometimes people just need to understand that you need to raise your voice. You're not being mean, you're being clear because it needs to happen now exactly like that. Really
even just giving that benefit of the doubt on both sides, right?
Yes.
Like, hey, you're gonna give it one way, but you've got to give it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. So changing gears a little bit here, for someone that's starting their first job on a ranch, so say they're coming in like you did from the beginning, what should they know about fitting into a team and earning trust?
Earning trust is the simplest, and that might be the best advice I'll give anyone when I talk to them, maybe on your podcast today. Trust is everything. You are going to mess up. Mm-hmm. Tell the truth. No matter how bad it is. Guy I worked for here last summer, I thought I set his paddock on fire. We were finishing the day and we turned around. We could hear a kind of crackling or whatever. I was like, oh, that's weird. We turned around and there's smoke coming up from the field. So we zip over there. The paddock's on fire. We burned down about 1.5 acres. We caught it early, thankfully. Thankfully, me and the other guy stayed behind to pick raspberries so that we could eat them. So
raspberries are good.
It was a good day for a snack. Anyways, paddock is caught on fire, and it was right where I had a cigarette hours earlier. Now, I made sure my butch was out. I keep the butch in my pockets because the landowner doesn't want to find cigarette butches everywhere, whatever. But there was a slight chance, and I really did not think that was it. But straight away after the fire department was there, I called the landowner and the ranch owner, let him know because he wasn't on site. First question he asked me, how'd that happen? Told him right away, I think it might have been me. Told him you tell them right away. It doesn't matter how big or how small. Because, one, you just messed up. So there's personal accountability there that you should be saying it. But second, you're already going to pay the price for having messed up. The one thing you can do here is be honest about it. So then you take ownership of it. You can learn from it, first of all, because the moment you start blaming other people, right away you get yourself off the hook. But then that boss now knows, okay, this person messed up and I'm going to pay the price for them learning it. But you can also prove to them that they can trust you.
Right.
So if in the moment of a mess up, and the bigger the mess up, the bigger the opportunity it is to show I am worth the trust, is you own up to it and right away they're like, okay, cool. He messed up, but at least this person isn't lying to me because it'll come out. That's the thing too. I kept my mouth shut. Turns out it wasn't my cigarette. We found out within 12 hours it was the quad that zipped by 5 minutes before we saw the fire. It had dried grass and you could actually see it ignite the next day on it and it dropped down. So I could have kept my mouth shut. Nobody would ever know. But if the story came out and there was other people on the ranch that I had a cigarette there hours earlier, even though if it wasn't me, and I didn't mention it, now it's looking real bad. Real bad.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. But if you're like me, and I know this was a bit of a long one, but I had to keep so much of it in there. Etienne's he's got some fantastic perspective on that communication piece, on investing in your people. And I really love that point about, he'll take someone with hustle over experience. And also it's an investment of your time into training someone, but there has to be trust, and that comes from owning up and owning your mistakes, and I just absolutely love that. If you've got feedback on this, you can drop me an email, lsmith@realagriculture.com, or of course text or call that feedback line, 855-776-6147. All right, we're going to leave it there, and we're going to take a quick break, and I'll be back with today's product spotlight right after this.
Built on over 100 years of seed innovation and unwavering commitment to farmers, Pioneer 100 Series canola hybrids deliver a step change in yield performance and agronomic traits. This isn't just better canola, it's different canola. Pioneer 100 Series. Contact your local Pioneer sales representative or visit pioneer.com/100 series to learn more today.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
RealAg Radio is Canada's only daily radio show focused on agriculture. Get expert advice on Agronomic Monday. Tuesdays and Wednesdays will cover a broad range of issues. Thursday we'll hear from farmers across the country on the Farmer Rapid Fire. And we'll wrap things up Fridays with the RealAg Issues panel with Kelvin Hepner and Lindsay Smith. Join us Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern. And don't forget about the replay at 7 in the morning on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. It is time for today's Product Spotlight. I'm Lindsay Smith, and joining me now is Eric Olson with MNP. Eric, how are you?
Doing great. How are you doing, Lindsay?
I'm doing well. This time of year does make me think about reflecting on sort of the year that was, the production season that was. And it does feel like we're starting to maybe get into a bit more of that planning season and that looking forward season. And so that's where we want to start today. From your perspective, what's driving farm business decisions heading into 2026?
Well, it really depends on what kind of operation you're running. I'm from Manitoba, so it's our cattle operations, our cow-calf. They're doing, we're lights out having a great year. I do lots of work in the hog business. Our hog sector is doing really well. Poultry and dairy is doing well. So we see the livestock sector doing really well. Where we really see some headwinds and changes coming forward is on the grain side. When we start forecasting for 26, we're looking at input costs are up 15%. Pricing is down. The big thing that we see from our standpoint is some of the fixed costs or fundamental costs have shifted up over the last 5 years. We calculate labor, power, and machinery, which is the cost of running all the machines on the farm. And we look back 5 years, and they were around $150 an acre from our benchmark numbers in Manitoba. They're closer to $210 and $220 an acre now with that shift in the cost of machinery. Same thing with labor, land building and finance. We look at the finance side. It hasn't gone up as much because we'll talk about a little bit later. Farmers are pretty good business people. But it has all shifted up. And we're looking at gross margins that are about the same in 2026 as they were in 2019. So I think for the first time in a long time, we're going to see a little bit of pain on the farms, and we're going to see some producers are going to have to manage their way through some losses.
Which, being forewarned, I guess, gives us some time to potentially adapt. And this isn't, of course, entirely a surprise. We've sort of been talking about what the coming year or years might look like. But how are farmers adapting?
The first thing that when we work with lots of our clients, what we're seeing is this is a generation of farmers out there, the younger generation. And I know I'm not the younger generation anymore. I'm not sure when that happened, but they haven't experienced this before. So a lot of them are running right now. And we see some different behaviors, and it's like change management. We have clients that are denying it. There's, farmers by their nature have to be optimistic. They go in every spring hoping for a big crop. So the optimism is a great deal, but the problem with it right now is even if you have a good crop right now, you still might not be able to cover all your costs. So what we see in terms of that shift from our clients is it's really get down to business basics and looking at, what can we do different, or what can we do to manage or maximize our cash flow? Because we're going to be shifting from, hey, how do we make a whole bunch of profit to how do we maximize or retain cash so we can get through that year for the next year. And that's the optimism in agriculture is let's get through this year so we can get to the next year. And that might be 2026.
So then in my mind, that does, I think, mean a shift in how you plan and how you manage for that risk. What are you seeing in what's changing in how producers approach planning for the season and trying to manage risk?
We look at the risk management piece of this, and I talk on this a lot to farm groups and different presentations, is the real key is writing it down and starting to look at doing a budget. If you're going to go into this without understanding your numbers, you can't manage it. And farms are big, sophisticated businesses. There's always this underpinning with farmers is like, we're just, the hard farmer, we're working hard. And that's true, but the businesses have shifted. They're large, they're sophisticated. And looking at doing budgeting and planning is hugely important now, because some clients don't want to do it because they know it's not going to look great. But once you get the plan done, you can start to go to work on making changes and executing on what is it going to look like next year? What do I have to do to make those changes? Some of the discussion that we've had with clients around this is really around, your costs on your equipment costs are too high. Well, those aren't easy to change in a year. So that means we got to manage through that year. We got to communicate with our banks. We got to communicate with all our suppliers. We got to work our way through that process to get to the next year, because any of those, the way it works in agriculture is the cost of that machinery is creeped up on us. You can't just change it in a day. And having advisors work with you that can say, hey, look, what can we do in the next few years to manage that, and have tools to help you look at that. And really what I see the other part is helping clients execute on that plan.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned then sort of the role of having trusted advisors, of having, the professionals on your side that deal in farm management every day, that maybe aren't scared of what the budget looks like. So what is the role then for advisors like yourself and at MMP? How does that fit into this puzzle of planning and risk management looking ahead?
So I spent a career at MMP being a farm management consulting and working with clients on all these issues. And one of my clients that I've worked with since I started here, I have a client I've worked with for 27 years. And when I started work with them, they said it was lonely. One of their comments is the business is lonely. I can talk to my neighbors about what fertilizer to use. I can collaborate with them on all those great things, but I can't really talk about my business, because ultimately it goes, my neighbor and I are going to end up having a bidding war on the next piece of land. And I don't really want to tell them where I'm at. So one of the comments, it's really lonely. And around that side is to have a sounding board. And a lot of our work, we help with budgets and give ideas, but it's a sounding board and to bring in external information. Farmers don't share their fixed costs with each other.
That's right. So
through our benchmarking we do at M&P, we can sit down with a client and say, hey, look, your labor power machinery is really $10, $15 an acre higher. What are we going to do about that over the next 5 years? And then come up with a plan. And the other piece with us is they know we're on their side, right? We are absolutely client oriented. So we work really closely with them to be successful. And a lot of times I tell them is, let's come up with a plan. Let's look at it and then let's execute. But the other piece is, after you do a plan, let's not just take the plan and put it up on the shelf and look at it next year and go, well, that didn't work out well. We want to come back out, meet with them quarterly, monthly to say, so what are we doing different next month? How can we execute on that? Because what happens on the farm is they get into the business and they get into the fight. And producers are great. Farmers are great, getting things done, dealing with issues. They got issues flying at them every day. But sometimes we pull them out of the issues and in the fight and get them to look and work on their business. And that's really what we're doing with our trusted advisor stuff that we do at M&P. Whether it's your GP or whether it's your farm management consultant, is you can trust that we have your best interests at heart and we want you to be successful.
I really appreciate the point about benchmarking, because it is one of those things that money is personal, numbers are personal. And so benchmarking is a great way to know where you stack up without having anyone has to know any personal information, anything like that. You just need to know, is that one of the numbers that I could improve? Eric, we're out of time, but we do want to, of course, send everybody to MMP. Where can they go if they want to know more, if they want to get in touch? Where can they go for more information?
Well, they can go to our website, mmp.ca, look up farm management. They'll see my smiling face, or they can approach someone locally. We have offices right across Canada and really hope we can help clients out.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here from RealAg Radio, and we'll be back with more right after this.
What were the issues in your fields this year? Did you do a soil sample? What is your soil sample telling you about some of the nutrient issues that you might be having going into next year? What herbicides did you use? What residues you might be concerned about? What weed issues did you have? What crop residues did you have? How well do you know your fields?
Get the answers to all the questions you have about your pulse crop at the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com.
Peter Johnson at WheatPete, RealAgriculture.com. I'm the host of The Word, and I love doing The Word. I love the questions. I love the challenges. I love having to apply agronomics to all over the globe and areas outside of my normal jurisdiction. Also, I love the feedback the most, where growers challenge me, tell me about their plot results, help me to learn. The Word, absolutely the best part of my day.
Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host for the day, Lindsay Smith. And hey, Alberta canola growers, now's your chance to shape the future of canola research. Complete the online Alberta Canola Research Survey by October 27th, and you could win one of 4 $100 Visa gift cards. Go to albertacanola.com/survey, because great research starts with farmer insight. Joining me now, it's Darcy Pollock. He is the newly minted chair of Ag in the Classroom Canada. Darcy, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
So congratulations on being named chair.
Thank you. It's an honor, truly.
Okay. Now, for those who maybe don't know, though, and everyone should, but let's face it, maybe people don't know who Agriculture in the Classroom Canada actually is, or what it is, or who it is. So catch us up to speed. What is this organization? And then we'll take it from there on what's new and what's changed.
I think that sounds great. And one thing to maybe add to that is Agriculture in the Classroom Canada is really an extension of all of the different provinces. So Agriculture in the Classroom Saskatchewan, very near and dear to my heart. So we act as a body that's been formed that comes over really about empowerment, any ability to kind of help what the provinces do, which is to teach students, help teachers teach students about food and agriculture, where it comes from, and do whatever we can to help build a new society of young people that have more food literacy in order to make decisions for their daily lives.
So Ag in the Classroom Canada, of course, been around a little while. We got news this week, though, of this new board of directors that's been named, and it's a bit of a different approach to the board. So catch us up on what has happened, what has changed over the last little bit.
You know, every organization goes through different types of evolution to try to figure out what that best structure, the best practice is going to be that's going to help empower their organizations to do a great job. And I think provincially, the different boards that have been there have done just a phenomenal job. And so in amongst all of the different executive directors across the 10 provinces, they've been getting together and figuring that they do need this national body to help with everything from advocacy and programming and systems and things like that. And sometimes it takes a little bit to get there. So there has been a bit of an evolution, tried out some different systems, some different people. And the nice part, I think, is where we've come to is we've now got just a truly phenomenal executive director in Denise Schmidt. The EDs of the provinces selected her as the person to take the organization into the future. And then collectively, they put in place this newly minted board, as you say, to try and really take from all the different facets of industry and really help to continue that success that they've had and experienced to date.
And looking at the list, it's a lots of familiar names on there, but there's also regional representation, which I think is really neat. So we've got, someone from PEI, we've got BC and New Brunswick, the Prairies, of course, well represented with yourself and also the canola growers as well. Was that important that there be, maybe not exactly one person from each, but that there be regional representation for this board?
Yeah, Lindsay, you really kind of nail something that's important to Ag in the Classroom across the provinces and nationally. And really that diversity matters. And it's not just regional diversity, but we've got skill set diversity where you've got past ag ministers from BC. We've got people that are in the education system, both at higher levels as well as within government. We've got one of the best communicators literally in Canada. And so, when you can kind of stack all that together and have a good representation from all the different provinces, because let's face it, agriculture is absolutely different between the prairie provinces to British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes. And so bringing that all together, it's actually been quite rewarding, even as a board member, I have to admit, just being able to be present with all those folks and having the opportunity to try to build something really special with that diversity. So it's great question.
And so looking forward then, certainly, putting together this new board of directors, really sort of opening up the next stage of what Ag in the Classroom Canada plans to do. What can we look forward to sort of seeing as far as, programming or what teachers may be able to access or how people can even get involved?
Yeah, fantastic questions. And thanks for that. So the provinces are going to remain the heart and soul of delivering the programs that have become a mainstay, and their delivery is truly world class. And so it really is about the national team's ability then to empower that excellence, let them continue to do that, and ensure that best practices are shared amongst the different provinces. And we look at, different systems that can allow for some efficiencies, because the reality of the different provinces is that demand has outstripped supply. They are all running all out. And if anybody has had the opportunity to meet the executive directors from the different provinces, we all know that their passion shines through day and night. They put tireless hours into it. So it actually is really compelling for that national group then to say, okay, what can we do to continue to further that and help that? So whether it's going to be shared services, and this is where, to the second part of your question around where can you get involved, it's not just about volunteering in the classrooms. If you feel like, hey, I'm better behind a computer screen, I'm great at HR maybe, I have some IT expertise that I'd like to contribute, communications, systems, you name it. We're certainly very keen to hear from you. We would love to take a look at how that can all be integrated. And so there's just a lot of different ways that you can volunteer. So by all means, continue with the provinces and the classrooms. But if you're looking for something different and you have a different skill set to contribute, we're absolutely happy to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm. All right. And there are just so many of us within agriculture, I'm sure, that maybe we don't have the time to serve on the board, but we might have, as you mentioned, maybe some other skills or time at different parts of the year where we may want to volunteer some of our time. I know personally, from my own province, we've done some Ag in the Classroom stuff, and it always goes over incredibly well. It's so wonderful to see kids and their curiosity and learning about an industry that we're so passionate about. It is truly rewarding. And so wonderful to see you taking the helm. Thank you so much for joining me here on the show. Really appreciate it, Darcy. And where can people go if they're curious about Ag in the Classroom Canada or any of their provincial orgs? Where can you direct them to go for more information?
The easiest way to go is Google Agriculture in the Classroom. It'll come up with Canada as well as a number of the different provincial entities, and through the Canadian portal, you can reach all the different provincial entities as well. More than happy to hear from them. Check out the great programs, make sure that you kind of advocate to your classroom teachers. There's lots of digital tools. There's everything from hands-on learning, you kind of name it. And it's an experience that's second to none. So thanks again for having us. We're really, truly pleased to be able to share this with everyone else. And we're looking forward to kind of growing it together with them.
All right. Thanks so much, Darcy. Thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, we're going to leave it there for just a moment, take a quick break, and we'll be back with more RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, channel 147, Sirius XM, right after this.
If you only listen to RealAg Radio, you only get half the picture. For greater insight into the issues that affect farming, tune in to RealAgriculture.com. Crops, livestock, machinery, farm management, and the markets. Even food and travel. Real Agriculture Online digs deeper into the topics that affect the way you work and live. So get connected today. Read, watch, and listen to the people who know at RealAgriculture.com.
I'm Lindsay Smith, host of The Agronomist, and I want to thank you for tuning in for over 200 episodes of our beloved little program. Join me Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube for our live and interactive agronomy Q&A. Each week, our guest panel will handle some of your toughest agronomic questions live, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, and RealAgriculture.com. Tune in Monday nights or go to RealAgriculture.com/agronomist and sign up for our email notifications and don't miss an episode. Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. It is Tuesday, October 21st. I am your host, Lindsay Smith, and time is running out. If you don't act now, your canola savings for next year will be gone. Save up to $75 per bag on canola with DeKalb Harvest Rewards, but only until October 31st. That's next Friday, everybody. Visit DeKalbRewards.ca for details. All right, we hop now to a soil school episode, and this is kind of a special one because Byrne headed all the way to New Brunswick to talk about potatoes and the role of biological products in unlocking all the nutrients those very hungry potatoes need.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobe, and welcome to the Soil School. Today I'm in Drummond, New Brunswick to talk potatoes with Mosaic agronomist Cam Blackford. Cam, how's it going?
Oh, going good. Yeah, thanks, Bernard. Looking forward to talking with you today about potatoes in New Brunswick.
Hey, I want to talk about something we were discussing off screen, and that is crop nutrition and fertilizer availability. And you said, in this field, 50% of the yield really comes from fertilizer inputs, but 60% of the nutrients are actually unavailable. Tell me, what's happening in the soil?
Okay, well, yeah, it's no secret that, farmers add fertilizer to help with yield, but sometimes they don't know how much of that yield is due to that fertilizer. You could plant this same field, same potatoes, same genetics without fertilizer. You get fewer potatoes, smaller potatoes, and your yield would be reduced by 50%. And so the nutrients you apply, you think, okay, I'm applying this fertilizer, that'll help. And it does. But the fertilizer you're applying, only about 60% of that is immediately available to the crops. The rest can be lost through runoff or volatilization or leaching, but a lot of it is actually immobilized in the soil. It gets bound up to the organic matter, to the soil particles. Particularly phosphorus is one of those really immobile nutrients. So when you apply your phosphorus, 60% is not going to be available to the plant. It's going to be immobilized, and it will be gradually released over time, but a lot of it is just going to be stuck there, not available to the plant right away.
Now, why is it so important, to increase, nutrient efficiency? I know, environmental is a big consideration, but, we've got yield, quality, and economics, right?
Yeah. Potato farming, about $1 in every 5 goes to fertilizer. And so you want to make sure that fertilizer you're applying is actually getting to that plant. You want those nutrients to be available to the plant right away. If it's immobilized, it's not going to be available to the plant.
Now, Cam, today we hear a lot about biologicals and, the impact they can have. What role can they play, and I guess, in unlocking nutrients?
Okay, so like I talked about before, phosphorus in particular is bound up in the soil, in the organic matter. And there's, all fields have natural bacterial populations, and what they do is they gradually break down the soil, break down the organic matter, freeing up those nutrients. But it can be a slow process. So through the use of commercial biological products, you can greatly speed that up. You can flood the field with these bacteria that they colonize the roots of the plants, they secrete these acids, they break up those bonds to the organic matter, to the soil particles, and making that phosphorus or all other nutrients, calcium, magnesium, making those freeing up, and so the plants can just readily uptake them, and so those nutrients can then be utilized by the plants.
Yeah. Now you and Mosaic have been doing a lot of work with biologicals, obviously, in the last few years. Hey, what are you trying to achieve?
Well, what we're trying to do, Mosaic is a fertilizer company, and our goal is to make sure that growers have the nutrients they need to make sure that their crops can grow and yield successfully. So the biologicals is just sort of a next step. You can add it with your fertilizer and make sure that fertilizer you're applying, we like to use the term return on fertilizer investment. So we want to show that the fertilizer you're applying, as we've just been talking about, is going to get to that plant. And through the use of these biologicals, you can apply it with the fertilizer, or you can just apply it, in a variety of ways. But those organisms will get in there, make that fertilizer that you're spending money on. That's, like I said, 50% of your yield is due to that. And so we want to make sure that those nutrients are available to the plant, and these biologicals will help with that.
Yeah. A biological that Mosaic's been working with and growers have been using for the last couple of years, BioPath. Tell us about that product and, and I guess the experience you've had with it.
Okay. So, yeah, BioPath, Mosaic has various products that all kind of work the same way. I was talking about these, bacteria that colonize the rhizosphere. BioPath is our liquid formulation designed to be applied with liquid fertilizers. So it's a water-based microbial. You add it to your fertilizer, spray it in as you would, and that's gonna those bacteria will then colonize that rhizosphere, and the fertilizer you're applying is going to be more available, and any other nutrients that are bound up are also going to be more available.
So Cam, just a little bit more on that. What type of results are you seeing in the field?
Yeah, so we see when we apply your BioPath, your microbials at planting, you get quicker emergence, you get more uniform emergence, and then as the progresses, you see larger plants, larger root systems, and then it turns into greater yield. You have more tubers, about 0.7 greater tubers per hill. You see more marketable yield. So you have fewer culls, you have fewer of the small potatoes, and more of those potatoes that are in that marketable zone.
So do you see more and more growers using biologicals? What are you hearing back from from growers?
Yeah, I mean, the use of all microbials are increasing for a variety of reasons. Greater technology, just greater interest, greater education. And so right now, maybe like 2 in 10 growers are using biologicals. But, about 70% of growers are interested and want to use them.
Ken, what do you tell growers about, I guess, the logistics of fitting a biological into their program? What do they need to consider?
Well, they need to consider, how well I can get this biological into my field. Do I have to do a special pass? Do I need special equipment? Our products, you don't need to do that. You can just apply it with your fertilizer in the same pass. You can apply it with an herbicide. You can apply it through the irrigation. So there are a variety of ways to get it in, so you can fit it into your system. And our products, there's no special storage conditions. You don't need to refrigerate it. You can just stick it in your shed with everything else. It'll be fine in hot weather, in cold weather. And we have a long shelf life. You don't need to use it right away. You can keep it in for about 2 years, and the population of the biological is still going to be at an efficacious level after 2 years of storage.
Final question for you, tips for growers. I mean, what's the best way to get in here? Should we be running a trial on the farm to see where it fits, get a feel for biologicals?
It's probably good to try it first, see how's the best way to apply it in your system. Do you want to do it with your fertilizer? Do you want to apply it some other way? And just see how it works in your soil. It's not going to be the same as an herbicide or a pesticide where you're going to spray it and see a dead plant. They work slower, but you're going to see it in the yield. When you dig them up there, you're going to see that difference in the size and the uniformity and the bigger root growth of the plants.
Good stuff. Cam, appreciate you making some time for the Soil School here in Drummond, New Brunswick. Appreciate you stopping by.
All right, well, that does it for today's episode of RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM, or if you downloaded the podcast, thank you for doing that. Give us a follow, give us a like, tell your friends. Because, hey, you can listen offline too, and that's all good. If you've got feedback on today's show, you can text or call. Yes, text 855-776-6147. You can drop us a text. We'll get back to you. You can, of course, zip me an email, lsmith@realagriculture.com. If you've got story ideas, you want to challenge something, maybe you want to know more about a particular topic, you can always get in touch. As always, we're across social media at Real Agriculture, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. We're there. Find us. Get in touch. Thank you, of course, to everyone who made this show possible, and special shout out to producer Jay for making it all happen. All right, I should be back Friday for the Issues panel. I very much hope so. We'll talk to you then. Cheers, everybody.